in Jammu and Kashmir in 1999, when it sought to repeat 1948 and 1965. Only last week, former President of Pakistan, General Pervez Musharraf, said he did not regret doing Kargil as a means of putting pressure on India to talk on Kashmir. In 2001, one of the terrorist groups based in Pakistan launched an attack on India's parliament. And in 2002, on the brink of war with India, President General Pervez Musharraf, on 12th January 2002, on 27th May, twice pledged to end cross-border terrorism, and on the latter occasion, through the United States, said that it would be ended, and please note, permanently, irreversibly, visibly, and to the satisfaction of India. Then again on 6th January 2004, my dear friend, Mr. Jilani, with whom I shared some very interesting time in Delhi, said that in the statement on 6th January, it's a joint statement, during the SAARC summit at Islamabad, General Musharraf assured Prime Minister Vajgl that, and I quote, he will not permit any territory under Pakistan's control to be used to support terrorism in any manner. In November 2008, Mumbai happened, leading to international uproar about Pakistan-sourced and state-aided terrorism. This time foreign nationals were involved, and so there was this huge uproar. Altogether, 14 terrorist attacks sourced in Pakistan were launched between 2001 and 2008. Even the Australian Prime Minister mentioned this about the Commonwealth during the Commonwealth Games. These have undermined India-Pakistan relations. Pakistan has consistently denied involvement of the state in non-state actors. It says it too is a victim of terrorism, except that it is being struck by its own people, or as many Pakistani friends say, that now our own pets have started biting us. Earlier this month, in 1 week, there was the following evidence of Pakistan's direct or indirect involvement in terror against India. First, General Musharraf's interview to Der Spiegel on 1st October. He admitted that Pakistan trained terrorist jihadi groups to operate in Kashmir to put pressure on India to discuss Kashmir. This is the right of every country to support its national interest, he added. He defended Pakistan-based Lashkar-e-Taiba for defending the rights of the Kashmiri people. Number 2, Interpol issued 2 red corner notices, all this happened last week, against 5 Pakistani nationals, including a retired and 2 serving Pakistani army majors, for their direct role in the Mumbai terror attacks. The officers are named, 2 others are the commanders of Huji, and that is Elias Kashmiri, and Lashkar terrorist Sajid Mir. For the first time, Pentagon spokesman Colonel David Lapan told reporters that some members of Pakistan ISI might be interacting with terrorist organizations in ways that are not consistent with what the government is saying or doing, that is the Pakistani government. And last, both Army Chief General Kayani and ISI Chief General Shuja Pasha have said in interviews to Der Spiegel that certain Pakistani terrorist groups are our strategic assets. Now the current unrest in Jammu and Kashmir. Since June 2010, the unrest in 3 districts of Srinagar Valley has led to more than 100 civilian deaths, largely youth, as was brought out, an imposition of curfew and restriction in most parts of the valley. That India blames all the trouble and unrest in Kashmir to the ISI has become a cliché. But there is sufficient evidence to suggest that after the insurgency in Jammu and Kashmir especially the valley plateaued around 2008-9, a new strategy had to be evolved to keep the pot boiling and keep the Kashmir issue alive. Separatists in Kashmir, together with the militants, were asked to replicate the Palestinian model of the Intifada to make the unrest and an indigenous struggle. Besides youth and women, Pakistani handlers, separatists, and pro-Azadi freedom elements are mixed up in the crowds. Stone pelters pelting sharp rocks are paid up to €6 for the day and are guided by a calendar of protests issued by separatist leaders, Mr. Said Shah, Jilani and others. Certain mobs have resorted to surrounding and attacking army, state and central police camps. They threatened to attack the army too, but desisted from doing so. Nearly 4,000 security force personnel, 504 civilians were wounded in the street violence over the last 3 months. Local state administration, state and central police forces, and central and state leadership have severely mishandled the unrest, especially on measures of crowd control. The situation has been diffused by an 8-point action plan to restore normalcy, ensure justice and accountability, effect calibrated demilitarization, and resume the internal dialogue process with all sections of Jammu and Kashmir for addressing their social and political grievances. In addition, a number of conferences among members of civil society have been held so that a consensus political demand can be made by the people of Jammu and Kashmir. As no political plan in Jammu and Kashmir can be viable without involving Pakistan, the resumption of the bilateral dialogue at the earliest is essential, and this, I believe, is underway. Kashmir enjoys special status under Article 370 of the Indian Constitution. It is the only state which has its own constitution and privileges not available to other Indian states of the Union. The Indian Constitution has the elasticity to accommodate the political aspirations of people of Jammu and Kashmir in pursuance of promises made to them in 1952 and 1975. Jammu and Kashmir also need the Truth and Reconciliation Commission. India has been very humane in its treatment of Kashmiri separatists, providing them political space despite their abrasive anti-national posture. They travel abroad, raise funds, and meet India's external adversaries in its own capital city, except that Farooq wasn't allowed to go during the OIC meeting now. India rejects categorically the right to self-determination by Kashmiris. Other than that, sky is the limit. The 3 voices heard in the valley are Azadi, autonomy, and self-governance. The first priority in Jammu and Kashmir is to get a government of reconciliation, and all mainstream parties must come up with a minimum political package. I'll say a few words on human rights. The Indian Army, by the way, is not involved in crowd control and not responsible for a single civilian casualty during the ongoing unrest. As someone, and that's myself, who has spent 15 of my 40 years in the military along the line of control in Jammu and Kashmir, from Jammu to Leh, and after retiring, traveled along the military fencing from Jammu to Poonch, I can assure you that the Indian Army has learned its lessons on human rights, the law of the land, and rules of insurgency for winning the hearts and minds of the people. But that's not enough. We have a long way to go. The Indian Army has followed the policy of minimum force, and I'd like you to please note this. Minimum force in good faith. Never in the history of insurgencies anywhere that the Indian Army has never used artillery, heavy weapons, or the air. Never, not even once in J&K, except helicopters once in Poonch. If you compare this with Pakistan Army or Chinese Army, Pakistan Army is heavy hand in Balochistan, Gilgit-Baltistan, Fatah, or other armies who have used all kinds of weapons, then you will see the difference. Yes, fake encounters have taken place in Jammu and Kashmir, including the Machar, which is now being investigated. I do not shy from admitting that. The Indian political and democratic structure and provision for the Constitution provide firm guarantees